Yeah.
Okay, fire away.
Jabril, 30 under 30. Just what's it mean to be named on that list as one of the top young coaches in America?
Yeah, first of all, I got to give all glory to God, and that's where it starts. I show up every single day. I work my butt off, and I'm surrounded around really good people. And I always think about this: you're surrounded around really good people. Good things usually happen, and so I'm excited for that. But the list really means nothing to me. I'm that type of guy. I got to get back in and get back to work, and I'm excited for what's in store this year.
With that being said, when you do get on a list like that, I mean, I know you're probably not thinking past this year, but your future, what your career could hold. How exciting is that to get on a list like that and have so much potential?
Yeah, I'm just a one day at a time guy. I try not to look too far in the future. I try to stay where my feet are, and so I'm just looking on how to help the edge guys continue to grow. That's I take a lot of pride, like you guys see, in that position. I play here. I played the position. I'm surrounded. I learned a lot from the guys that played that position. So my job every single year is how can I help that room stay afloat? How can I help that room steady on the rise? And so that's what I'm looking for moving forward.
That edge room, obviously, a lot of depth this year. Obviously, Max and Jaden up front, but behind them, I know coaches have been talking about Bowl quite a bit.
Yeah.
Malachi's looking good. What do you like about the depth of that room right
now?
Yeah,
the biggest thing is when you have depth, you want to make sure those guys there's no drop off. And that's the biggest thing. Jaden Morgan, had a really good year last year, but behind Jaden Morgan, you have Bo, who reminds me a lot of myself as a young, guy coming in. I came in here at 185. Everybody said you need to put on weight, and you constantly get better as the years go on. You got Sterling, who's a twitchy kid, who's a pass rusher, who can do some things at the stud position, and then you go to the DN with Malachi Williams and Roman and a lot of different those guys. And so I'm excited for that room, and we're steady. Like I tell those guys, if we can get 1% better for the next 4 months, we're going to constantly grow. And that's all I'm asking for. I'm not asking anybody to go out there and be a Superman. I just want us to get better each day, and we'll reap the reward on Saturdays.
You had a number of good years here. So, like Jaden Morgan, he was really good last year.
Yes.
You come back, I'm assuming they're going to probably handle him a little differently. So, what do you remember about what you saw as far as blocking, chipping, etc., as a younger player that when you become known, you get
well, trust me, I've had that conversation with Jaden Morgan, and the biggest thing I'm telling them is like nobody knew who you were last year. And so now the work that you put in during the spring, I challenge them. During the spring, during the summertime, during fall camp, that work has to now show up now because everybody, their game plan going into the game is where's number 5. And so you got to know that you're going to get chips. You're going to get match protection. The tight ends go make sure he gets a piece of you before, similar to Ahmed going into last season. And so now that's my job to make sure that guy on the opposite side, now they can't just chip one side. That opposite guy, he has to become the guy. So now we can get one-on-ones on both sides.
It feels like when people talk about Jaden, the kind of the meaning of it goes far beyond his production.
Yes.
And I'm not saying it's like I never would have predicted he'd be a team captain, but like, what is he doing right? And like, what was like a turning point for him where he knew he had to get on this path?
Yeah, I think it was halfway through the season last year. I think, at this position, it's all about confidence. And I think he gained a lot of confidence throughout last season. It was just one day, it was just boom. And I can remember it was really going into the Hawaii week where we knew we had the game plan him. And he went into the Hawaii game and he executed the game plan at an all-time high. And after that week, he had the utmost confidence. But like going back to your question, it's just the way JV shows up every single day. And he shows up, he works. And it's not just, some guys, they show up, they come in the building and they leave. Like JV, he's always here, always getting treatment. He's getting extra work, extra film. So guys buy into that. And you talk about it like a guy becoming a captain as a junior. It shows what type of person he is.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's what this is all really about, right?
Yeah.
So what is it for a guy that played here, has seen this program from every angle, basically? What is it like when that clicks for somebody? Like,
yeah, it's huge because then they have confidence. And now as you have confidence, now you can go out to the game. You're not second guessing things. You play way faster. And I think that's what happens to a lot of guys once they get the confidence into a real game, because it's good about having confidence in practice, but when you can take that practice execution to game day reality, now you can just cut it loose. There's no thinking, and now you're dangerous in playing this position.
Just with JVM, you had Ahmed as well. Just for you, when you become the edge coach, How much of having guys of that level of talent helped you as a coach?
Yeah, it helped me a lot. And a lot of things is just, I'm not out there on the football field. That's something that I've learned from, one of my mentors is I have to see it the way they see it. I watch film all day. That's our job. But I got to see it in the lens of how do they see it. So now, okay, you see it like this. Well, let's talk about this. Let's execute this at a high level. And, having those guys like now, they have the talent, but it also, okay, now we're putting the technique with it. Okay, where are their hands? Where on your strike, what are you escaping to? Those type of things. Now you take a guy level right here to the next level off of that.
And just with you being on the list, kind of said it doesn't mean much, but Coach D was on it and Coach Miller was on it. Just having young coaches around here, what have they done for you as well as you got into the coaching?
Yeah, I think every coach in this building is a mentor to me. A lot of these coaches, they want to pour into young coaches, and that's a beautiful thing about this building. Coach D was my position coach. I played here with Matt Miller. He was here as a senior. I was a freshman, and so we're constantly trying to help each other grow in this profession. And so that's the thing about Boise State coaches. We're close, and so I've learned a lot from older coaches. I always write different things. The coaches say something, I'm writing it down like I'm using that in my meeting. Or I watch a guy present in the springtime, and I'm like, man, I like the way he was able to translate that to real world and now take it to the football field. And so I'm constantly learning and growing every single day.
What was it that led you to coaching, I guess, led you back here?
Yeah, it was really, the impact that Coach Danielson had on me as a young man. They always say, some of your coaches are your best mentors and leaders, and just every single day, he pushed me to the limit. And that was the best thing about it. Like when I was in my the shoes when I was a junior senior, I kind of hated it, but it made me, as you get away from it, you sit back and you recognize, man, I needed that more than I needed. Or coach says, just go pat me on my back, And so I always wanted to help the next generation of young men grow. And I find it fascinating that I could come in every single day and make an impact on these young men, not just as football players, because that's not what I'm in it for. I'm in it because, man, they're going to be, husbands, fathers, real men in the world. And so I'm happy that I can get to do that every single day.
How well do Jaden and Max work off each other?
Yeah, it's been really good with those two. It's almost like no drop off from last year with JV and Ahmed. But one thing I can say is, Max played a lot for us last year, and him and JV were on the field together, and so they have that chemistry. They watch film together. They're in there together, in the training room together, and so they're just constantly building that chemistry day in and day out.
What should we expect from Max? I mean, like I say, he's been on the field now. It seems he's going to be a starter.
Yeah.
I guess what should fans expect out of him this year?
Yeah, Max, I can tell you this, one thing I know for sure, he's going to play at 110 miles per hour. So I can definitely say you can expect that. He's not going to take plays off. He's going to give you everything he has.
What about some of the strengths of some of the other guys that are going to come in? What does each of those other guys do best?
Yeah, Malachi is a really good pass rusher, really good on third downs. He can get out to the quarterback. Bobo is the same way, a guy that can get out to the quarterback. Is still growing in the run game, but we're excited for him and what he can do. Sterling, another twitchy, edge player that we have that has the ability to, move D and stud, and be able to rush out the edge for us and things of that sort.
Max, a lot like Ahmed, just kind of relatively new to the game.
Yeah.
Is there something about this position? I know Lopez and Nusi at defensive line is kind of in the same boat. There's something about this position that you're still pretty new. You can be pretty dominant on it.
Yeah, just play physical.
Yeah.
No, I'm being serious. Like I always tell those guys, like if you're in the black or white in football, I say this: if you play fast and you play physical at D line and edge, you're going to be all right. And so that's what we try teaching our guys. Like at the end of the day, like it's a physicality sport. And if you can play physical, you're going to be good. And then we can teach you the nuances of the game.
I think when you look at like Max and how much he played last year, there might be a perception that he's young and a question of if he's ready. But if you look at what he did with the snaps that he played, like how ready is Max?
Yeah, I just say this, man. I know off my head, I think it was 187 snaps because I told each guy in the room how many snaps they played. 3.5 sacks. So that's not a lot of snaps. But he played behind Ahmed, and he played during really, good time. Like you look at the Penn State game, he played a lot in that game, and he did a really good job in that game. And so it's not a big drop off. I always tell this guy, be ready for your moment. You never know when your moment's coming, but you got to be ready for it. And so I'm excited to see what he does now. But there's not like, we're starting from a young guy and starting over. Like Max is a junior, and he's been in the program. He knows the defense, and I'm ready for him to showcase what he can do.
That being said, how much more do you find out about a guy like Ahmed last last year, playing like at times 90% of the snaps from his position seems insane. So
Yeah.
how much do you find out about a guy going from 187 snaps on the year to playing, 70 in a game?
Yeah, and I think that's a good question. You know, that the biggest question is testing those guys in practice for a guy like that. And I coach intensely. You guys probably know that, and so I bring it to practice every single day because I always tell those guys, I don't want when you get to the game that's like the hardest or you're shocked. Like I want practice to be harder than the game. Because I always believe in this. If you can execute in practice, well, guess what? You're going to be able to cut it loose on game day. And so I always say it's the higher the standard in practice. I hold a high standard for those guys. So when they get the team or the game series, now they're ready to just cut it loose. There's no thinking. There's no, I'm nervous. Yeah, you might have a little nerves, but you can go cut it loose.
I might leave this a little bit more kind of open-ended for you, but I mean, just 9 days out from game day, what are some of the biggest strengths you're seeing from your D-line, especially as you get a pretty good job of containing a shifty quarterback here in USF?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. The biggest thing for us always when we go into a game is, being able to stop the run. And so, we want to make sure that we can make a team one-dimensional. And so from our front four, that's that's what we want to get done is stopping the run. And then, like you talked about it, we're going against a really talented quarterback. And so it's going to be all about our pocket leverage in that game and doing our job. And that's the biggest emphasis, is doing our job every single play.
Jabril.
When you got promoted from GA to the full-time job, obviously, Av believed in you, but now that you're a few years into this, just how much more confident are you in yourself, and how much better have you got since you stepped into that full-time role? Do you feel?
Man, that is a great question. I never thought I would get into coaching. And when I became a GA, it was really about figuring out myself again. You get done playing football, that's probably the hardest transition. What's next in life? And so, my first year as a GA, I was working with the tight ends on offense. And then my second year was our first year here. I got the opportunity to move to defense. And then really going into my third year as a GA, I had confidence and knew that I can do it. But you never know how much you can do it till you actually have your own room. And so, after my fourth year, which is my first year as a position coach, I was like, man, this is way more than what I thought. This is not GA, this is different. You got to recruit, you got to do this, and then, moving into it, going into my second year, which was last year, and then now going into my third year as a full-time coach, talking about some of the guys, my mentors outside this building, mentors in this building. I've learned a lot about the game of football. I've changed some of my own, philosophies and things of that sort, but I've learned a lot, and I constantly want to continue to grow year after year after year.
Is there something that stands out as one of the biggest things you've learned or picked up since becoming your own, coach of a room?
Yeah, relationships. Relationships. I always tell this is like I want my guys to know that I'm not just their coach. I'm their mentor. I'm their brother. They can come to me for anything, and so I'm big on relationships with my players.
Just with you being young as well, I'm sure good players respect coaches regardless, but you're so close in age to your as well, guys. How does that help?
Yeah, you said how does it help?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I tell those guys I sat in those same seats that they sat in. The same decks they ran, I ran them every single year, and so they know that I've been through some of the same things that they've been through, and so I never try to oh yeah, I'm older than you, I'm doing this. No, I tell these guys I'm trying to get the best out of you. I'm trying to get you to where I've never been, and I know that everybody in that room has the capability of it, and so I want to bring that out of them, and so that's my job each and every day.
What are your impressions of Brown, the quarterback? He was mentioned briefly.
Yes.
What do you think he does best? And then when you have a quarterback that can basically be another running back, how does that change the deck?
Yeah, you just hit it, man. I think Brown does a good job with his legs. They design quarterback runs for him. When he doesn't see his first, second look, he knows that he can use his legs to get out the pocket and things of that sort. And so for us at the defensive line, we have to do our job. Like I said, is pocket leverage is going to be key. Tackling is going to be a key. We got to make sure we go through the thigh boards, making sure that we get them down on the ground. And so that's going to be the biggest emphasis going into it.
Thank you, guys.
Sweet.
Sounds good.